Understanding baitfish migration is critical to finding bass any time of the year, but it's especially important during the fall, when the baitfish can be positioned from a foot of water to 80 or 90 feet of water. In this video, I'm gonna explain how you can track down baitfish in this fall time of the year to put really big fish in the boat. Let's get into it.
Baitfish migration during the fall is pretty straightforward. The majority of the baitfish are going to be on the main lake when summer ends and the fall begins. Then, as the fall progresses and water temperatures drop, the baitfish are going to make their way into the backs of the creeks. However, these baitfish aren't going to immediately go from the main lake to the backs of the creeks in a couple of days. It takes weeks and sometimes months for this transition to happen. Additionally, the thermocline is going to disappear on your lake as the fall progresses, which means the baitfish and the fish are not going to be capped above that thermocline and can swim pretty much anywhere in the water column. This means you can find baitfish and fish as deep as 60 or 70 feet of water if you're on a very clear lake. As baitfish transition into the backs of the creeks, they're going to follow creek channels, ditches, or drains that are leading into these areas, and a lot of times will be suspended over the middle of creek channels and ditches in 10 to 30 feet of water. This makes locating bass and baitfish pretty easy in the fall. To demonstrate this, I came to the lake in early October and started graphing a creek that I know baitfish will migrate into. I started at the mouth of the creek and graphed right down the center in the middle of the creek channel with 2D sonar and down imaging. After I got a third of the way into the creek, I started seeing baitfish in 25 to 30 feet of water. However, I wasn't seeing any quality fish around these baitfish. Fortunately, if you find bass in 20 to 30 feet in the first third of one creek, they're usually going to be in the same depth in the same section of the creek on all of the other creeks in the general area. I started graphing other creeks in that 25 foot of water and in the first third of the creek, looking for both baitfish and quality fish, and I eventually came across some quality bass that were schooled up around groups of shad. You can tell that the bass are actively feeding here because you can actually see a big hole in the shad with a fish in the center. This means that that fish is actually actively busting through those shad and feeding. And if you graph long enough, you should be able to find a group of fish that's actively feeding on bait on one of the major creeks on your lake, as long as you are graphing in the right depth zone and in the right section of the creek. After finding these fish feeding on the bait, I dropped the live scope and got to work.
Fish. Come on, eat it. Got him, good one. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Finally got a good one out here. There's some big ones out here. I just gotta heat choke that thing too. Just gotta find the right ones. That's a freaking butterball right there, dude. Look at that thing. Let me spot lock right here. Holy crap, dude. They are just underneath that bait, choking that big old 7-inch or 8-inch fluke. That's a big hunk of meat right there. Pairs perfectly with that 7/4 ounce tush. It's a big one. Let me get a weight on him. There we go, guys. 3 pounds, 9 ounces. Really, really nice fish. Let's lock that in to see if we can get our best 5, but whew, that is a chunk right there. Let's get this beautiful fish back down the lake. Oh man, guys, that was pretty sweet. Came up and choked that big bait. I knew there were some good ones out here, guys. It just is a matter of time. You just have to be patient, wait till you see that right little group of fish, and they're really just feeding right on the surface, it seems like. There's a lot of fishes you can actually see just kind of suspended around here. I'll kind of cast at them just so you can kind of see what's going on, but I'll cast at these fish, which is really weird. See if I can catch some of these fish as I let this bait sink down to them. 40 feet out, my bait's right there. There's a bunch of them in that little deal. They do not want that bait if I let it sink down to them. They really don't like that. They just want it right on the surface. It's very weird. There, get a spoon down on those fish. Got him. Stay on their fish. Good one. On the big old spoon. They're down there on that spoon too. I knew I was gonna be able to catch some on this thing. It's another good one. they were stacked up a little bit better now. When they're grouped up in 7 or 8 fish like that, you can toss that big 8-inch Magnum spoon and catch some of those guys. Good spot locked. Let me get this guy unhooked. This is a Ben Parker 8-inch Magnum flutter spoon, and they'll eat this thing too. Just gotta keep switching up baits on them. 2 pounds, 12 ounces, 2 3/4 pounder. Really nice fish right there on that Magnum spoon. Let's get him back down there so we can go chase his buddies. That brings our total weight to 6.5 pounds for 2 fish, not too bad. There we go. Now we kind of got a 1-2 punch going on here between this big spoon and that big fluke. Let's keep rolling at him and see if we can get another one of these fish to eat this spoon. I dropped it right in the middle of that big school. Probably lost him at this point just because they're swimming so fast. They're right over here, but a couple of fish over here at least. Probably should go cast on those instead of messing with this. Oh, I need to cast on those. That's what we're looking for. Look at those fish underneath the surface. Oh, come on. Come on, fish. Why don't you guys come up and eat this thing? Come on. Got him. Good one. Oh, real good one on that fluke. There we go, frickin' tank, dude. They're all up on the surface here, guys. Whew. Big one on that fluke. We are about to get a bag today, boys. That is a big one. Quick weigh on this guy, 3 pounds, 10 ounces. Scale's bouncing, so maybe a little bit heavier than that, but looks about right. 3 pounds, 10 ounces. Get back down there, fish. Wow. 3 fish for 10 pounds, all on these big old baits. This is an 8-inch depth Sakamata shad, 7-inch quarter-rod tush. Need to keep casting over there because they're freaking all over the surface. There's a bunch of good ones out here. Got that spoon on. They're grouped up here, guys. I don't understand why the better ones are grouped up. The ones I was catching that were isolated were definitely a lot smaller. If I can get my bait around some of these, oh, they're all over. Come on. Come on, got him. Right in them. All just really quality fish, guys. This one's a little bit bigger, actually. Nice one. Whew. Solid fish right there. Solid 3.5 pounder on that big old spoon. Beauty. Whew. Biggest one yet. 4 pounds, 4 ounces. Culls us out. Culls out a 2 3/4 pounder to give us 17 pounds, 10 ounces. Whew, tanker. Really quick, I want to take a break from the action to talk about the couple of baits I've been throwing in this video so far. Because we have really big gizzard shad in this lake, I've been trying to fish baits that imitate the gizzards. My #1 producer in the first half of the day was the Depths Sakamata shad on the 7/0 1/4 ounce tush hook. This bait works really well when the fish are positioned high in the water column close to the surface. And all I was doing was casting this bait out, burning it over the top of the water basically, and those fish would come up and eat it almost like a topwater bait. This is a technique I've used pretty much all year, and it's worked really, really well with smaller baits. But now that we have the 7/0 1/4 ounce tush, you can throw it with this really big fluke, and they were crushing it. These fish were kind of isolated and suspended in wolf packs of 2 or 3 fish, and this bait is perfect for targeting fish in that situation. I was just pairing it up with 20-pound Sunline FZ Sniper fluorocarbon, a 7.6 heavy power, moderate fast action Denali Covert light bait casting rod, and a Black Max reel. Now, there were some fish that started grouping up about an hour into my fishing on this spot, and it was kind of interesting because they really weren't grouped up and biting the spoon for the first hour I spent on the spot, but there was a feeding window or something that changed and those fish started grouping up and I was able to catch them on this big Magnum Flutter spoon. This is the Ben Parker 8-inch Magnum Flutter spoon, and I'm just pairing that with a Denali 7'8" extra heavy flipping stick. This is a big long rod, 20-pound Sunline FC Sniper fluorocarbon, and this is the bait that worked really well to target those fish that were in that 15 to 25 foot of water zone and that were a little bit deeper. By using this 1-2 punch, I was able to target these gizzard shad feeders near the surface and near the bottom. And I actually have so many fish catches to show you in this video, guys, that I can't fit them all in unless we do a montage. So let me show you some of these fish catches just back to back, and then we'll keep going with the video. It's at school again. I'm about to catch another one on this drop. So many big fish right there. Come on, fish. Got him. Oh, there we go. On the big old spoon. The spoon is definitely more efficient than that fluke when they're down deeper. £3, 5 ounces, lock that guy in. Let's just keep catching them, guys. This is so fun. Come on, fish. Eat it. Eat it. Eat it. Come on, fish. I think he wants it, I know it. Got him. There we go. Freaking big again. Oh, there we go. Another big one, guys. I mean, they just want this thing. They're eating it absolutely all over that thing. This one's blind in one eye and he still got it. 3 pounds, 12 ounces, calls us up another pound. Beautiful one-eyed bass right there. And I'm just following this school right now. You can see those fish down there. A little bit deep on my range. Let me drop this down so you can see, but those fish are on the bottom right now, chasing my spoon. Look at him down there. That's just freaking meat right there. Gotta keep track of them, gotta move with them. But if you can get your bait right on top of those fish and just track them down, usually you can catch one of these fish pretty easily. Here's my bait falling right to him. Getting excited about it, maybe, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe I've busted them up a little bit too much and they're getting wise to me. Oh, come eat it. Come on, come get it. Got him. Oh, on the fluke. Good one. Oh, there's like 10 behind it. Wow. They're all chasing that thing back to the boat. Beautiful fish on that big old fluke. And that 7/0 1/4 ounce tush. Beautiful fish. Get back down there. That fluke's messed up. I'm gonna have to throw the spoon. See if I can find these fish. Still a bunch of them right there. I normally can catch these fish when they're positioned down there underneath these bait balls, down there on the bottom. It's pretty typical this time of year and also kind of in the post spawn to catch fish like this. They just weren't doing it earlier in the day and it was really weird. Oh, here's one. He's coming right on the bottom. 50 feet out. Eat a fish. There's a bunch of them down like tight to the bottom. I don't know if it was because that fish, ooh, you can see several of them are actually following it. I'm not sure if it was because that fish, oh, I'm about to get hammered here. Come on. Had just gone down the bottom or if conditions have changed, but oh my gosh, look at them all down there. There's got a freaking pile of them. Dead on the bottom. You can barely see them. They're just stuck down there in the bottom, almost like smallmouth. I was catching them on Grand Lake earlier this year doing this, and they're doing it here too. And it's pretty cool because you can basically just work this spoon directly on the bottom and they'll come up and eat it, and you'll draw a lot of fish because that spoon is so big, it has a lot of drawing power, and catch some good ones. Not gonna help our bag right now, but just a good quality fish. Get back down there, get back over there. Off the bottom. This is a big one. Saw him swim down to the bottom and he was down there. Happens quite often with, oh golly, with these fish, is they'll set up on the bottom and then, whoa, that came pretty close to my face. A little bit close for comfort right there. Beautiful fish though, right there on that spoon. Got him straight off the bottom. 3 pounds, 11 ounces. Only gives us a 6 ounce cull, but It's enough to get us to 18 pounds, 14 ounces, still working our way to 20. Beautiful fish, let's get back down there. Well guys, I had a blast today targeting those fish in the center of the creeks that were chasing bait and are transitioning into the backs of the creeks. You can replicate this on lakes all across the country. You don't always need to use these big giant baits, but if you do have gizzard shad, they work really well. But you can also throw smaller baits like a hover rig, a smaller swim bait, smaller spoons, all kinds of baits. As long as that bait imitates the size of the shad, you're pretty much good to go. Just spend some time graphing the center of those creeks, look for those fish, and if you do, you're going to be able to put a lot of good fish in the boat. Thanks for checking out this video. We'll see you on the next one.